What did you learn in that time at Zillow that enabled you to create what you've created in the last 5 years?
I'll be super candid. I am not a great agent.
Okay. Don't worry, Colby. No one's listening. It's just us.
And the thousands of other people, but you're fine. Yeah. You talk about it privately. We talk about it publicly. This is the Real Estate Insiders Unfiltered Podcast. Welcome again to the Real Estate Insiders Unfiltered Podcast. I'm your host, Dwiggy, along with Mr. Crazy Uncle Keith.
Yes.
We got to have our friend Colby Culbertson, founder and CEO of Culbertson and Gray Group, a massive team here in Northern California with EXP. And we haven't talked to him in a while, but this was a fun conversation catching up.
It was great to catch up. We have been friends for a long time. He's been running his real estate team for 5 years now. Colby is a SOB. He's the son of a broker. In 2025, they cleared roughly 275 units, 545 million in volume, and
875. Yeah,
what did I say?
275.
Oh, yeah, sorry. 875,000 units.
Yeah.
545 million in volume with 185 agents on his team. And he used to be with Zillow, it was really interesting to unpack for him this sort of he was in production, stepped out of production for a quote corporate gig, and then stepped back into production. Yeah. And he took all that learning from structure, systems, tech, process, corporation thinking, corporate thinking, and applied it to residential real estate. And he unpacks that in detail. He talks about how important it is when you pick your team, how it matters. He's got language that I love. I don't need you here, but I'd love to have you here, is how he opens every recruiting appointment. The right agents with the right leads and the right approach. He has almost 180-degree rule around recruiting. He tries to counter recruit people and tell them why they shouldn't join his firm. You wait till you hear the hurdles he puts in front of you to join his group. It's unlike anything I've ever heard. And I think we need more of that in this industry. Not to be a pain in the butt, but to just put some hurdles in front of people so that they know what's expected. And we had a great conversation around the professionalism in the industry and some of his thoughts on how to fix it. You're going to love this conversation from a very successful human. Put it in your ears, kids.
Colby, welcome to the show. Man, I got to tell everybody, viewers and listeners, Keith and I are super excited to do this episode.
Yeah.
Because Colby and Keith and I go way back. There are many of a fun real estate story, which is not going to be talked about on the podcast today.
Real Estate Insiders slightly filtered on this episode.
But man, it is good to see you. And
it's good to see you guys.
And have you on the show. Mm-hmm. I think we should start with a little bit of your background, so everybody gets to kind of know who you are. I know you had a stint at Zillow, which is how we all met, and then sort of where you are today. I know my partner in crime will have some follow-ups, and then we'll get into all the juicy stuff.
Yeah.
So start there, my friend.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's been a journey. To be honest, I never expected to get into residential real estate. My mom and dad are both brokers. They actually started a company in the Bay Area called Contemporary Realty. In 1997, they sold that to Cendant. But I grew up in a real estate office. Both my parents started off as real estate agents. And so I grew up getting dragged into the office all the time. And my sister as well. And I always swore I would never go into real estate.
That's funny. My daughter says that too. Right? Her mom is a real estate agent, and I'm in and around real estate. She's like, I'm never doing real estate. I'm like, all right, we'll see.
And truthfully, it was not a plan. The way I actually got my real estate license is I was playing college football at Sac State, and I tore my patella tendon, and it was the second time I had ruptured it in a matter of a year and a half. And so the first time I had to wear a straight leg brace for 8 months, and I went, and it was my freshman year, and I went into that, and I swore if it ever happened again, that was it. I'm not going to do it. And so that happened, and I was done with football, and I was feeling sorry for myself. I'm 18 years old, and my dad, of course, was like, just get your real estate license. But you're sitting here, you're not really doing much. You have to be laid up for months. Just go ahead and get it done. And I was like, I don't want to do that. And then my uncle also talked me into it. And so I did. and I got my license when I was 18. And I didn't really start using it until I moved to San Diego for a while. It's actually where I met my first wife and my second wife. We can talk about that if we want, but and yeah, it's wild. But and I moved to San Diego for a while, and I moved back, and I started selling real estate, and then I got into REOs actually because I chose the best time in the world to get into real estate. It was 2007, 2008. As we all know, that was a great time. And I joke around about that, but it actually was a great time to get into real estate for me because I learned no bad habits. I learned the hustle. I learned, the consistency that the business demanded if you wanted to be successful. And when you're doing REOs and you have 150 listings, I learned to build systems when I was 23 years old. And so big systems guy. And then so actually, I got tired of dealing with the banks and their bullshit Oh, sorry. Was it past 2 minutes?
I think we made it 2 minutes.
You're good.
I think you're good.
Yeah.
I think
you can swear away, my friend.
Yeah, let it rip.
Have at it.
Right.
Let it rip, tater chip.
But yeah, no, I got tired of dealing with that, and I moved down to Newport Beach for all of 6 months, and my wife and I had just got married, and it was starting to actually sell real estate down there, and then Cole Banker is who I'd worked for in my entire career up until we moved to EXP, and I can get through that, but I ended up getting a call from Cole Banker, and they wanted me to come basically join the corporate side of things back in Sacramento. And I started off as an assistant manager in a Roseville office up here. And then it was like maybe 6 months later, they created a regional marketing position that they wanted me to take over. So I took that on for maybe all of 6 months. And then a certain person who I will not name called me out of nowhere, and he worked for this pretty small company called Zillow, and reached out and said, "Hey, I have this role that I'm creating, and I think you'd be perfect for it. And I'd love you to come join me here." And I had worked with him at Cole Banker, and that's how we knew each other. He worked in the corporate side in Southern California, and had left obviously to go to Zillow. And I flew up 2 days after my first child, my son, was born, and I actually didn't want to take the job. I was just like, well, free trip to Seattle. I've never been there. So I flew in, and actually it's funny because Greg Schwartz came in, and I had no idea who he was. I didn't prep for an interview, and he came in one of the conference rooms, and I did walk in, and I was like, holy shit, this is way cooler than Colby Banker. Fuck. Like, what am I doing? What am I doing where I'm at?
It's funny.
The old place is dusty, and this place is just like fresh, clean. There's freaking candy walls and video game rooms.
Right.
Little did I know, you don't go into the video game room unless you're like an engineer or something. Otherwise, you're probably getting fired. But
right, sales is never ever seen in the game room.
No, maybe a little ping pong, but you don't go in the video game room.
That's funny.
But yeah, no, Greg came in and he asked me some questions, and I was just super candid, and because I was just very honest about my feedback about Zillow and what I thought they needed to do. And oddly enough, the person that hired me came in. He's like, I don't know what you said, but he told me to hire you. And I was like, oh, all right. And so I flew home, and I told my wife that we're moving to Seattle, and she was super stoked because obviously, she had just given birth like 4 days ago.
Yeah.
And she could not wait to pack and move everything, obviously.
That's a perfect time to change everything on your way.
Really smart conversation, my friend.
All our support system. No, it's great timing.
Perfect.
And no, to her credit, she's always been super supportive of all the crazy crap I've decided to do in our career, in my career. And, and I told her, I was like, we're going to move up there. And at the time, Zillow did not allow people to work from home, but I said, I'm going to convince them that they can't lose me, and we'll be back within a year. And, that's what happened. We moved up there, and I actually liked Seattle, and she did not. And I was also only supposed to be traveling like 15% of the time. As you guys know, I was traveling like 75% of the time.
You were at home 15% of the time.
Yeah, I was never in the office. So I was like, it'd be great to be a part of the culture, but at the same time, I actually don't work here. I work in Southwest or Alaskan Airlines. But no.
So then what happened? So you're at Zillow a while, and then what happened?
So I was at Zillow for almost 8 years. And obviously the pandemic happened, and I was tired. We'd moved back to Sacramento after that 1 year. And so we were in Lincoln, and then we bought a house in Newcastle, which is like in the foothills up here, not far from
beautiful.
Beautiful. Yeah,
spot.
Great area. It's on the way to Tahoe, right? and we had 5 acres. It was pretty cool. Anyway, so I did that for almost 8 years, and every, you guys obviously know Wild, but every time I was like ready to be done, Wild convinced me to stay, and they get more money.
Wild is Andrew Wild.
Andrew Wild,
former
episode in the show notes.
Executive at Zillow. Been on the pod. We'll link in the show notes. Keep going.
Absolutely, you got to put him in there. He's to this day, he's one of my best friends.
He's a great human.
Yep. And so anyway, but yeah, so pandemic hits, and I was home. I was exhausted. 8 years of traveling 75% of the time. Puts a lot of strain on a marriage, as you can imagine. And the other thing, for me, I was missing so many things with my kids. And, every time I came home, I swear they were like an inch taller, and, or I missed a milestone or something. And I was tired of that. And, and it wasn't that I was tired of Zillow. I was tired of that. And, because I had a great time at Zillow. I loved all my colleagues and everybody I worked with. That's really part of what kept me there for so long, to be honest. Because you get your teeth kicked in by enough brokers when you're doing the job I was doing. Eventually, you maybe think about doing something else. Like, I don't want to be a punching bag, or, my boxing career is coming to an end, But,
and so you got back into real estate, and now you're one of the biggest teams.
And so one of my dreams was always to do something with my dad, like start a company with him, and whether it was real estate or something else. And my cousin Michael actually was in real estate as well, and I helped him out. And so I called them both, and I was like, hey, I'm going to do this, and I want you guys to be my partners. And I still had a small team that I just basically funneled all my old referrals through an old business partner.
Got it.
And and so I basically just had them buy her out of her percentage of it. And we moved over to EXP in April of 2020. I think I had 6 agents. 3 of those were my dad, Michael, and myself. And today we have 185 agents, and we cover all the way from Vacaville, both sides of Sacramento, so the 50-80 corridor, all the way up through both sides of Tahoe and into Reno, both states. And we have a mortgage company as well. So we've done that in really 5 years, or 5.5.
Good for you, man.
That's amazing.
I love hearing these kind of success stories. It just, I know, I don't know, but I have an idea on how hard that job was at Zillow, because of just, Zillow being Zillow and all the controversy, and, you were dealing with that. That's actually how we all met each other. But, and what was your production in 2025? If you don't mind me asking, like, just kind of what was your total number?
I think we cleared 875 units, somewhere in there. Don't quote me on the exact unit number, but it's right around there. And I think 545 million.
Good for you, man. That is awesome. And coming off of a job where you're on the road, and then not having to come back in real estate, but literally going to do the very thing that you were talking to everybody about. So I have to ask, is Zillow leads part of your team? Do you guys have Flex?
We do have Flex. And
he knows a guy.
I know a guy. Yeah, exactly. It's kind of funny though, because when I left, I told them I wanted to get into Flex, and they were like, well,
there's a waiting list, Colby.
Yeah, there's a waiting list. And I was like,
get in line.
Yeah. All right.
You're like, no shit, I sold it. Right.
Yeah. I helped create part of it. Right. And we were there for launching it, the whole freaking thing. But
that must have given you an advantage, because you actually knew how to make the systems work, because you were actually like working with people to use the program. Right.
Yeah. And I get it, and I still get it. And so it has obviously evolved massively since, we were all sitting in the room and talking about this conceptually, but it has evolved, and obviously there's a ton of smart people there that are continuing to evolve it. But I do understand what the end goal is, and I'm aligned with it. Frankly, I mean, making the consumer experience better is something I'm aligned with. And what I'm not aligned with everything, obviously, that they do, but at the end of the day, I think the partnership is a good partnership. But I definitely we have parlayed that into expanding it and expanding our business. And frankly,
what percentage of your business is like online lead gen? Just curious.
Online lead gen, including Flex, is probably about 25%.
Okay. And then do you use more than Flex? More than Zillow?
We do. We also buy, realtor.com, and we do some other stuff as well.
What percentages, what I'll just refer to as generic online leads, and then what percentages, and again, terminology, but organic real estate business?
I would say right now, 75% of our business is organic. Maybe I'd have to go back and look. I think it's probably close to 74, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
The last I looked at it.
I got a couple questions, background questions. First, total non sequitur. We're going to make a left turn. Sorry, audience. Colby and I are just going to have a 10-second conversation. Sac State, I was reading about their NIL, raising a bunch of money for NIL. Since this is my first time talking to a college athlete. Is that true? And what do you think about NIL stuff? And then I promise we'll get back to real estate. James is like, what is going on? Yeah, no, hey, this is a big deal to anyone who is involved with sports, James. Name and likeness deals.
NIL is absolutely crucial. I think what has happened in the
past. How much would you have gotten? I just wanted to get to the real. I'm just kidding.
How much would I have gotten?
I'm just kidding.
Fucking pennies, bro. I had a busted leg.
Yeah. Here's my real question.
Yeah.
So, and it's going to be a little meandering because it's one of mine. But so you were at Zillow for a long time. Then you stepped back. You were in production before. Then you went to Zillow for a long time. Then you stepped back into production. Were you a better agent when you stepped back into production? And what did you learn in your time at Zillow that enabled you to build this 75-ish% organic with a bedrock of portal online lead business? What did you learn in that time at Zillow that enabled you to create what you've created in the last 5 years?
Good question.
Great question. One, I'll be super candid. Yeah. I am not a great agent.
Okay. Don't worry, Colby. No one's listening. It's just us.
It's all good. No, I'm
thousands of other people, but you're fine.
My passion lies in building the operations and systems to make real estate agents more efficient and better, and make them actually tie into something that they have to use, right? And that's what I like about being a team versus the traditional broker, right? It almost comes with a different mindset when somebody, even though we're bigger than a lot of the small brokers, obviously, in terms of production as well as agent count, all that.
You're bigger than a lot of the big brokers too, by the way.
Yeah. And so, but I think the mindset that it comes with is, we get agents that have to tie into the systems. And so what we did and what I learned while I was at Zillow is most people are really shitty operators. And I'm just going to be super candid about that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of really shitty operators out there, and there's a lot of agents that don't tie in and build systems that make them actually be able to have the time to be better agents. Focus on education, right? Do these things that you should be doing. And for us, one of the goals was, we're not going to just hire the people that fog the mirror, right? And honestly, it took me a minute to get my dad, because he's old school. He's a hell of a recruiter, by the way.
I bet.
But he's old school in the sense of, like, in the past, you just went and you hired anybody that said yes, right? Because they had a real estate license, because it was about numbers. For me, what I said was, let's focus on the people that actually want to be here and are actually aligned with our vision and our core values.
Choose your people.
Yep. And I said, and if we don't get people that actually fit what we're building, then it's going to be a longer road to actually get to where we want to go. And the chance of failure is a lot higher. Right.
It's interesting. Can I double click on something you said? Because I think you're right. I think we don't do a great job when we attract people to this industry of explaining the importance of system and process, right?
100%.
And I also think there's some self-selection going on, right? Like, you need a really high emotional IQ to be good at residential real estate normally.
Right.
That behavioral profile doesn't normally also indicate systems and process, right? That those two aren't a natural fit. So what I heard you say, and I just want to confirm it because I think it's so important, is part of the gift that you bring to your team that you're building with your partners is a commitment to structure and process. And because you have that and hold people accountable to it in a fair, loving, kind way, right? But that is what I heard you say, is that's a big part of your differentiator for success. So one, did I hear you right? And then
you did.
Two, why don't more people how do we get people in this industry to sacrifice just a little bit of that freedom so that they can get their unfair share on the other side? Like, it's driven me nuts for 25 years of residential leadership. Like, fear. How do we get there? How do we do that?
Yeah, I think a large part of it is fear, right? And I think a lot of people don't think you can talk to a top producer in a way where you're being respectful and showing them, in my opinion, you're showing somebody that you care more about them by speaking honestly and holding them accountable to what they should be doing versus kissing their ass, right? It doesn't do them any good. And they already have enough people that do that. And I think they need somebody, especially a leader, that is going to tell them what they should be doing and hold them accountable to it. So, as an example, and this was a little crazy, I'm going to admit, but we had a $50 million, we had a $50 million producer come to us and she had a reputation outside. I didn't know her personally. And I'll start with this so it doesn't come off wrong. She's one of the most incredible people I've ever met, just down to her core. And, but she originally came to us and she had, a reputation for being difficult or, whatever. And so we're all about the culture here, right? It's a big thing. And that's one thing I really did take away from Zillow. Culture is very important. And you get one top agent that thinks their shit doesn't stink and they become a cancer. They'll become a cancer, right?
Yep.
And they'll end up costing you more money than they bring in. And so, I sat her down when she came in. She approached us because she had heard about how we are with our systems and training and even the accountability side of things with us. And I was actually a little shocked that she reached out because of her production. Again, 50 million. She did last year on our team. She did 54, and that's a lot of production up here.
Yeah,
that's a lot.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
And so she came in, and the first thing I said, and I just was very candid: culture is more important to me than the amount of money you're going to make me. And I said, so let me be super clear. We don't do prima donnas. We have a no asshole rule, right? You're not bigger than the team. And my expectation will be that if you're going to come in here and leverage our systems, you're going to also give back to the team, right? And she looked at me somewhat shocked, right? And I said, because I told her basically, I don't need you here, but I would love to have you here if you can align with these things, right?
I love the fact you said that.
Yeah. And I just told her too, I said, this is the boundary and we don't cross it, right? And my dad was also looking at me from across the table like I was fucking nuts, right? He's like, what are you doing? Like, but it's true, right? If we're going to do that with the $10 million producer, the $5 million producer, the $25 million producer, we got to be able to do the same thing with the 50. Because if you don't actually hold the boundary for that across the board, then you really don't have one, right? In your culture, it doesn't, it's a myth. I
can't tell you how many times I have had conversations with brokers who hired someone for the production. And I understand why I'm not judging. I'm just giving examples of historicals. I've been in this industry a long time too. And they talk about how the culture shifted in the company and then they couldn't recruit anybody else. They had such a hard time recruiting. And as soon as that top producer left, all the agents that were in the office were like, oh, thank God. And then the doors opened up to, other opportunities. People said, I wasn't going to come over there because so-and-so was there. But now that they're not there, I'd love to have a conversation. And, I think I admire the fact you've done that because you're holding the line on something you've built. And you're right, man. You get one wrong person and it can just create such a toxic environment across the board.
Yep.
The damage is sometimes irreversible at that point. So
can I ask this of both of you? Why is our industry like that? Like if you worked at Salesforce and someone was recruiting you to go be a salesperson at their technology company, and there was some guy you've heard about in the industry who was, kind of a jerk or whatever, you wouldn't be like, I'm never going to work there until they're gone. Like why? Right. Why does our industry do that? Do you think?
Egos. There's a lot of ego in our business, and I also think I think the question should be is why don't brokers set expectations or boundaries or team lead better?
Don't get me started. And
I think the reason is because we're in a business where the top producer brings the actual inventory, right? Versus like Amazon. Well, and even then, right? They have Amazon sellers that buy the inventory, obviously.
Yeah, but they have the distribution network and you don't.
And so it's just different from, and they also don't have to work with the other sellers, right?
I do think, not to answer my own question, but I think the collaboration component's a big piece, right?
Yeah.
Like when I've done a deal with you or two and each one was a pain in the ass. Well, now you make my life harder and I just don't want to be around people who make my life harder. Maybe that's it. Right. Or a component of it.
It's also because this industry, I'm in agreement, by the way, with everything you guys said, but I'll add this in here. It's also because this industry operates in such a way where you can get a license so inexpensively, you don't even know what the hell you're doing. And, you've got 2 or 3 people a year that you have related to that end up listing with you. And instead of this having requirements where there's less people with a license and it's more professional and it's more controlled, it's just a giant free for all. And so I think that brokers have learned that you need to have as many, in Colby's words, people that fog the mirror to get some of those are really good, by the way, to get enough deals through the business. It is interesting to me because over the entire, like, I've been in this business for, I don't know how long now, but let's just go past 20 years. The conversation hasn't shifted at all. The agent that sucks goes to the other brokerage. The other brokerage doesn't want to hold the line because they want the revenue until that agent leaves and goes somewhere else. And around and round and round and round and round we go. And until this industry becomes tighter and more, not regulated, because I hate regulation, but just more professional in its way, I think that this just continues on the same path. Keith, you were the great example of this when you made the comment a while ago. I hadn't even thought about it until you said it. Well, people, I've been saying about attrition in the industry, which I still believe is coming. Keith and I have always had a difference on the number, but his point, which I never really thought about, Colby, was interesting. I was like, well, all these bottom people that do 1 to 2 deals a year are going to get kicked out, and he's like, no, they're not. And I'm like, what makes you say that? It's like, well, because they just need to make enough money to pay their dues, and they're not going anywhere.
Yeah,
like,
if you're selling 2 deals a year, you weren't in it for the money anyway. So it's not like you're leaving because the money gets harder. You're just going to make, a little less.
You're doing it for when your friend or family member wants
right.
to.
Or a tax write-off.
When I think about that for the industry, the hidden problem is we run the risk of losing a whole tranche of future top producers, right? Like your full-time agent making a living today, kind of getting by over the last 4 years, is the future top producer, right? There's a certain amount of just duration in the industry unless you exit from the Zillow finishing school to launch a real estate team, right? It's going to take a while to build your career. So there are people that got out of what I'm worried about, what I think about is we've lost people over the last 4 years that are really, really good people that the industry needs. And
because there's people taking these onesie twosie deals? Is that what you're getting at?
No, more just because it got a lot harder, and those are the ones who tapped out, not the
87% of people are out within 5 years. That's the latest number from NAR.
Yeah, that's like
87% of realtors are gone in 5 years that join.
What a terrible, not terrible's maybe too strong, but like there has to be a better way, right?
I mean, here's my thought on that is think of it this way. It's easier to get a real estate license in our state than it is to get your freaking hair license, right? Your cosmetic license. Right?
I wouldn't know.
That my cousin Michael, my business partner, his wife's a hairstylist.
You also have great hair, Colby. For those of you just listening,
I'm 41 and I still got this shit.
Colby has a great head of lettuce. Like it is solid.
Michael's not doing so well on that. He's younger
well, there's only so many perfect heads. Colby, keep talking. Go ahead.
I understand. Well, you know what? You've got a beautiful bald head. I do not. If I was bald, Keith, there's like a point up here.
Guys, this is getting uncomfortable now. I'm gonna be honest.
It's not good. Yeah. So God's doing me somewhat of a favor here. So
it is easy to get a license. There's no doubt about it, which is part of the issue. Hey, Colby, I want to take this in a couple directions just for time's sake, right? So what's interesting to me is we've been interviewing the top teams across the U.S. For months now, and there's a through line. It's around 30% of their business is online lead gen. It's pretty common through line, and then the majority of them have this organic business that comes through with their team. So I want to ask a few questions. One, how is your team structured? Do you have like ISAs? Do you have how does the lead gen go? How do you have your organization structured? You grew it from 7 people to, we said 180. Did I get it right?
185 now. Yeah, as 184. I think is what we have.
Point is, you're bigger than like 95% of brokerages. So how did you do that? And then how's the structure of that?
We do not have ISAs anymore. We tried the ISA structure. Frankly, it's really hard to make money on that structure unless you're dumping a shit ton of money into a lot of online leads and you have multiple. And even then, it's difficult to find good ones that stay, right? Because all of them mostly want to become a real estate agent in most cases, right? And so what we did was we pivoted and said we need these to go directly to the agents. And we need a better structure for accountability. And so And we need better agents. If the agents aren't converting, then they're not the right agent for the program, right? And so we're really, really fast at identifying the people that don't work in the actual online lead space, right? Because everybody says that they want it, and then they get here, and this goes. They want it, they come in, and then what really shows the effort, and we, by the way, have a process they have to go through before they actually get onboarded and onto Flex or any of our online leads. And if they don't complete it, so one of those is they have to make, this is super easy, by the way, is 200 calls, right? And a very simple way to find out if somebody is willing to actually do online leads is, will they do the 200 calls? And they have 30 days to do it.
When you say 200 calls, you mean just to anybody, or you give them
we have multiple ponds with.
You give them some age leads, and here, call 200.
150,000 leads in there that we've gotten over the years, right? And so
I like this. So you're like, you need to do this if you want to be on the team, and if they can't do it, then
amongst them, a couple other things, and then they have to at least convert one of those leads to an appointment, right? I think, or maybe it's two. I can't remember exactly what. Michael developed it, and so, but. It's a pretty simple qualification to see if somebody will just make the effort. Right?
Yeah.
Is that it? Is there more? So 200 dials, mostly just that and one appointment.
Yeah. Well, there's more to it. Like they have to go through and show that they've gone through all the onboarding videos, and they have to show and demonstrate they know how to use FollowUpBoss. They have to demonstrate that they know how to actually answer, the questions that Zillow requires them to ask over the phone on that first call, right? And so there's more to it than just those things, but those are the basic things that it's like, all right, if you can't do this in a 30-day period, you're not going to work on our team most likely. Right?
I love that, man. Yeah.
And honestly, what I tell them if it's me interviewing them, I tell them, if you can't do this in like literally a week, you're probably not going to work out. Right? We give you 30 days because maybe you have another job or whatever it is that you're trying to actually get and leave. And which, by the way, they can come in with another job, but they have to have the intention of trying to leave that within 90 days. And that is a requirement to join our team. We don't want somebody that's just doing this to begin at part-time. We don't have anybody that's part-time intentionally. We have people that are part-time trying to get to full-time. And so that is an expectation I set right up front.
I remember when I ran an office, I said, I don't hire part-time agents, but of course I hire transitioning ones, right?
Correct.
Which was sort of,
that's a great one. Yeah. But I mean, even, from how we recruit, right? So one thing I don't, and I probably have, 5 to 8 recruiting calls a week is probably what I would say. My dad does most of it. But we both kind of tackle it. We don't meet in person for the first meeting. I do a 15-minute qualification call where I ask the questions and I direct it. They don't get to ask me questions until the very end of it. And I'm just trying to make sure that they would even fit for our team. And what I'm doing is I'm actually trying to scare the hell out of them from actually joining our team. And I'm talking about accountability, everything that we put them through, everything that they have to do when they're here. And I really want them to say no, right? Because if I know I get the person that says yes after that, more than likely it's going to be a good fit. Right now, does that always work? No, but I will tell you, it has drastically dropped the number of failures that we have on our team in terms of just people that didn't work out, not like their failures in just
because you have to invest all this time into training them, and if they don't work out, that's a complete waste of investment.
Well, even that, think about every time you've done a Zoom or an in-person meeting. Do they last 15 or do they end up getting stretched to 30 or 45 or an hour because of the fact that you're face-to-face and it's more conversational? A phone call is easy, right? You're just going to direct that, and the expectation is it's 15 minutes. It shows that on their calendar and mine. And I tell them right when I start the call, I stick to this amount of time. And I'm going to direct the questions, and I'm going to see if you work for my team. And it's funny because I get the experienced agents that, are on the phone, or maybe they're a referral from one of our agents. And they'll be like, well, I have questions. I'm like, well, that's great. You can get to those at the end, but I'm going to make sure that I'm directing this like an interview. It's pretty funny because it goes a little quiet at first. And then by the end of it, the good ones that are really seeking what we're doing here get it. And they're like, all right, you know what? Nobody's ever asked me these things. Nobody's ever directed it like this, right?
Man, I'll tell you, what I love about this conversation is you're not trying to be everything to everyone. Yeah. You are literally just seeking out a profile of a human being around the specific needs of your organization, and you are sticking to that. anytime people have gotten away from like what they need, that it starts to shift stuff,
Yes, 100%.
So I wrote in my notes your counter recruiting approach, right? So it's because it's opposite, right? It's opposite basically what is taught normally.
Correct.
Why are you so comfortable putting all these hurdles in front of potential recruits when most of your peers are not comfortable putting any? Like, is it the confidence in your offering? Like, if I'm like, damn, I can't wait to get where Colby is, what do I have to do to get that same confidence where I'm putting hurdles in front of people instead of begging?
Because I know what we offer is so good that it's worth the fact of me protecting it from the people that will look to abuse it.
Y'all are, like, seriously, hit that little back button while you're driving, back 30 seconds, and just listen to what Colby just said about 50 times. The
Value
industry needs to hear it. Like,
if you don't know your value proposition and you can't sell it with confidence, then you need to work on it or build it if you don't have it, right?
Right.
And, I think the beauty of what we've built here is most of the appointments I have are being referred to me by the agents we already have. And that right there is the proof in what we're doing, because nothing sells like an actual peer that doesn't actually have to sell it to actually bring it to somebody else that they care about. Right?
Yeah, it's word of mouth as opposed to some slick marketing campaign.
It's the ultimate. It's the ultimate referral. So
interesting.
Yeah, and they tell them too. A lot of them actually tell them the expectations, like, hey, he doesn't mess around. Like, he's literally going to interview you. Like, it's not. You think I'm joking, but he is going to interview you, and he's going to tell you it may not work out. Right?
So can I put you on the spot and just give us what differentiates you guys from others? Like, what does that look like? How do you explain that value proposition so that somebody's listening to this going, I want to get to where Colby is. Like, I want to be able to have that kind of confidence. Like, what does that look like? How'd you get there? Tell me about what that is.
I mean, one, obviously, we broke things, right? and we broke a lot of things. I mean, even when we were just talking about how we recruit and how we set up an appointment, we intentionally broke things to fix what is already broken in the industry or needs to be improved upon, right? But that's typical entrepreneurship, really. If you think about it, right? The point is to fail and fail fast, right? And so one thing that I've always known is tech stacks never get used, right? Very rarely. And what's the adoption rate of the agents that use a tech stack, right? And a lot of that it's money wasted by a lot of brokerages. Okay. And for us, one thing I immediately said is we're going to have the best in class softwares, and we're going to make every single agent use it. And if they don't want to use it, then they don't belong on our team. And here's the one reason why I said, and my dad was the one that was like, well, we can't make everybody do everything. I'm like, no, that's the old school way of thinking. Yeah. We can't make anybody do anything, but we can make them want to. And more importantly, if they don't want to and they don't do it, we can kick them the fuck off our team. Pretty fucking simple, right? And of course, to him, that is literally self-suicide, right? Like, might as well shoot ourselves in the fucking head. So, but it works. And really, here's what happened, right? When you're small, it's a lot easier to do that, right? With as you know, one with you, we even got to 25 agents. It could become a little more difficult. But why it really does work and why we stick to it and why we'll never break that part is, and we won't deviate off it, as I should say, is if everybody is using the same exact thing, then everybody can help each other, right? And your actual onboarding time to bring on a new agent, even if they're experienced or brand new, whatever it is drastically cut. Okay. And so with us, like, one of our biggest things here is collaboration, right? And a lot of people will say it, right? But we literally live it. And so we have Slack as one of our pieces of collaboration, and one of our software pieces of our tech stack. And we are adamant about everybody starting any kind of question or conversation around a question inside of there. So example, contract question, go to the contract channel. Don't call me or text me until you have actually exhausted the resources that are already in front of you. That being said, if you've gotten yourself into some shit or it's a more legal issue, let's pass that over to the brokers, right?
So when you get a broker question, your first question is what they say in the Slack channel. And then if they're like, oh, I didn't do that, and be like, great, do that, call me back. Is that what you're saying?
I literally will tell them, don't call me until you have literally gone there, right? And
Right.
and I'm like, if you want to call me to chit chat, I'm busy.
But you've taught them out of the gate. I'm going down this value proposition road. What I heard was just where I honed in on was we have 180 plus people who all use the same systems. They're required to do it. It's the most collaborative company you're ever going to see because every one of your peers is inside the same platform to help you succeed. Did I generalize that? Is that kind of one of the major things? Because I can tell you right now, just hearing that going, everyone's like, oh, I got to go so-and-so, I got to learn this new platform. But if I'm going to an organization where every single one of those people is in that system every day, using that system successfully, that is a very strong value proposition right out of the gate.
Well, yeah. I mean, look at, we can use Zillow as an example. When I was there, everybody used Salesforce and we all had Slack and everything worked really efficiently. Right. And, I mean, it could have always been better. Salesforce was kind of shitty when I was there. I'm not gonna lie, but I'd be willing to bet over the time frame that I've been gone, it has drastically improved. But everybody there, the person next to you is able to tell you, this is how you do this is how you do that. Right.
Yeah.
But any large organization is going to have one CRM. The difference with our businesses is everybody's an independent contractor. Right. And because of that, they all want to be independent in terms of what they do. Right. And the other thing, like, how many agents sit there and want to spend money and time making their website pretty, but literally have never spent a single dollar on their website driving traffic to it? Right. So there's things like that where it's like, you don't need to go and build a website on your own. We have websites that are included. You have subdomains. And I'll ask an agent, are you going to spend $1,000 a month to drive traffic to that? No. Are you going to spend any money to drive traffic to that? No. Then don't go waste your money on that.
Then don't worry about what the font is for your website.
Or make it pink or whatever. Right? like, there's other things that you should be doing with your time. Right? Yeah. And so this cuts down on a lot of that because we literally just tell them, this is already provided for you. You don't need to go do this. If you're going to spend the money or if it's an experienced agent, you have a website you're bringing over, fine. But if you're not going to spend the money to drive traffic to it, why sit there and continue to work on that thing? Right.
So I got tech stack is Slack, something FollowUpBoss because
FollowUpBoss, RealScout.
RealScout. Okay. What else in the system? Is that the three majors that are part of that?
The three majors and then Slack. And then we also, we use Celebrity Agent as well. Try to think of, we use Monday.com for our back office that I built out.
Yeah.
And so that literally powers everything. We have, this blows some people's mind when I tell them this, but we have 2 full-time employees, minus obviously Michael, my dad, and myself. We have 7 virtual assistants and for 175 agents, and everything runs through Monday.com. And so, and I built that out. We didn't pay somebody to do it. I didn't sleep very much in the first 2 years of building this company. It's part of why I probably got divorced the first time too, amongst, being gone for 8 years on Zillow's, behalf. But, it functions at a very high level, and it makes it so we don't have to have a lot of on the ground employees.
I want to ask you one last question from me, and that'll let Keith wrap us on a question he's always asked. You obviously have a very unique perspective, I think, than most people in your position because you worked at one of the tech giants in residential real estate. And so I know there are probably lots of things that you cannot talk about on the pod, even though Keith and I would love to get that out in the open.
Yeah, no one's listening.
Curious, with all the stuff going on, I'm not asking specifically, I'm just looking kind of a general high-level view. Where do you think the industry's going to end up in the next 5 years, and specifically where agents fit into that, having been at, the largest tech portal in residential real estate and now running one of the largest teams in the country, and you've got a unique perspective. What's your thoughts on all that?
Yeah. I've got my opinions, and I have
share them.
A unique insight, obviously, into what, at least when I was there, the thought was, right? But my opinion is the business needs the bar raised on the agent side of things. I can't tell you how many transactions end up getting blown up, and you guys know this, get blown up because the ego of the agent on the other side ends up getting in the way of what the actual point is, which is the client getting their home of their dreams, right?
Yeah.
And so they end up getting in the way and blowing it up instead of their client, or they get them worked up. There's just a general, I guess, lack of education on proper management of negotiation, I think one of the weakest things in our business is the agent's ability to negotiate. And I think that's the one thing that needs to be improved on the most, outside of just an understanding of what the contract says.
Do you think that's because they're sort of overprotective of their client and it manifests itself in the negotiation? Or why do you think there is a poor negotiation process?
I think it's ego. I think a lot of people want to control what they can control, and they think that, and maybe they can't control things at home. I don't know, right? Like, that's a possibility. I don't know. And so people will honestly create problems where there aren't problems, and there's a lot of different personalities in our business, as you know, and it's not to say like everybody is really bad at this or that.
No, for sure.
It's to say that it happens more than it should, right? Where an agent inserts them into it and creates the problem where there doesn't need to be one, or they basically over exaggerate an issue and make it so that it's not solvable. Right?
You mean like private listings?
Yes.
Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah.
Damn it, we almost made it through, James. We were at
he
the
said
tail
over
end.
exaggerates a problem, and I couldn't help myself. You know,
just kidding.
like magically, there's all these sellers who are pissed off at the MLS. But anyways,
right.
Interesting.
Who wants their house exposed to everybody? What that makes sense.
Who would want that?
Yeah.
All right, let's take us out with this. We ask this at the end of every episode. If you could tell a leader one thing or an agent one thing to impact their business for 2026, what advice would you give them?
Just do it. Stop making excuses and stop using fear as a reason to not do what you should do or what you want to do. Follow what you're passionate about, right? And there's a lot of ways to do real estate as an agent. And I guess my biggest thing that I tell you, there's a lot of personalities. I just mentioned that. And I would tell agents, find the people that you want to work with, create your ideal client, right? And get so busy that you can tell people that are assholes or just don't respect your business and don't respect you as a person to fuck off.
Yeah.
Right? There's nothing greater or sweeter respectfully than that, or sometimes not, right? Because but there's nothing greater than that kind of freedom, right? But you can't do that if you have one transaction every 3 months because you're not consistent with your follow-up and your prospecting and everything else.
By the way, it's a really good t-shirt. Respectfully, fuck off. Like, that's a good one.
That is good.
Whenever I say respectfully, I don't use the other two behind it, but it's basically saying the same thing. So
someday we're going to have a merch. Someday we're going to have a merch.
We got to have a merch store. Yeah, we need to do that.
We got to get on that. We should stop being afraid of that.
Colby, my friend.
Good to catch up.
Absolutely. Congrats. I'm really stoked for you.
Me too.
Congrats on, getting the wifey sorted out and yourself,
Twice.
and congrats on the sober journey. I know what that's like, my friend. So proud of you. I appreciate genuinely. It's not an easy path.
Yeah.
So,
all jokes aside, man, you seem as like grounded and happy as I've ever seen you. So man, congrats. Whatever you're doing, keep doing it, brother. It's awesome.
That's because I see more of my wife than Southwest Airlines now. Right?
Perfect. Okay, whatever it took, man, keep doing it.
No, it's great. I appreciate it. it.
Awesome. Right. Appreciate you, buddy. We'll talk soon.
All right, guys. Appreciate you.
What's better than cold calling? Subscribing to our podcast. Do it now so you never miss an episode.